Okay, Unit 3, Lecture 3, Federalist, beginning of a two-party system. Following the ratification of the Constitution in 1789, American people are going to elect George Washington as the first president of the United States. He'll take his oath of office in 1789, and he'll serve 2 terms. All right, as president, Washington will regularly ask for advice for or from a group of advisors, senior advisors, okay? And we're going to end up calling this the cabinet, the president's cabinet. It's one of the many precedents that Washington will set. And you have to be aware of his cabinet, who they are. And I have it up here. I'll try and make that a little clearer for you, or a little more solid. There you go. All right, I want you to remember, this is a quiz question coming up. Hamilton, Secretary of the Treasury; Jefferson, Secretary of State; Knox is Secretary of War; and Edmund Randolph is the Attorney General. Now, more important than who does what, I mean, you're going to know Hamilton and Jefferson. You need to know the positions, the Treasury, State, War, and Attorney General. All right, now immediately in Washington's cabinet, we're going to end up with a conflict between Jefferson and Hamilton, and it has to do with Hamilton's financial plan. He pushes Washington to create a Bank of the United States, or what we'll call the BUS. And under Hamilton's bank proposal, the U.S. would deposit all of its money in a federal bank, national bank, and this bank would make loans to individuals and the government, and it would also issue paper money backed by gold and silver. So Hamilton wants this bank because he believes it would help to establish the credit of the United States, strengthen the government's finances, and lead to economic development. All right, so it leads, Jefferson's opposed, okay, and it leads to open disagreement between the two of them. Jefferson will argue that the BUS was unconstitutional because nowhere in the Constitution does it specifically give the government that kind of power. The Constitution never mentions a bank. Therefore, Congress doesn't have the constitutional power to create one. This philosophy is known as strict construction. I want you to be aware of it. Strict construction means if it doesn't say it in the Constitution, you can't do it. All right? So the powers of the federal government then are very strictly defined in the Constitution. And we'll see. I want you to remember that. And remember, Jefferson says it, because a little later on, he'll be a bit of a hypocrite. All right? Now, obviously, Hamilton holds the opposite view. So if Jefferson's a strict constructionist, Hamilton will be a loose constructionist, all right? And he'll argue that the government can make the BUS, and he'll look to the Constitution for evidence. He'll say the government can do anything the Constitution doesn't say it can't, all right? So the government has a lot of powers. It's not only limited to what the Constitution says it can't do. And to back this argument up, Hamilton will point to the list of enumerated powers, those written into the Constitution, and the last one. The last one says Congress has the power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States. This clause is called the necessary and proper clause. Sometimes we call it the elastic clause because it stretches the government's power very far. All right, it allows Congress to do almost anything, and it gives us the idea and reinforces the idea of implied powers, that the government somehow has powers not specifically mentioned, but somehow meant in the Constitution. So according to Hamilton, the BUS would help Congress in carrying out its specified powers, like collecting taxes, borrowing money, paying the public debt, and regulating commerce. So because it will help them carry out powers that are specifically given to it, it's necessary and proper. Okay? Washington then is going to side with Hamilton. All right? And he's going to, well, let me give you this a little clearer. Get those down. Hamilton and versus Jefferson, Bank of U.S., loose construction, and necessary. I want you to remember elastic clause and implied powers. Okay? Now, whoops, not there yet. All right, high board. Oh, I want the picture. Okay. All right. Well, I wasted a little time there. We have the first political parties that are going to rise out of this. Okay, Washington's going to side with Hamilton. Jefferson's going to resign from his cabinet, and Congress will pass a law creating the first BUS. I'm going to stop there, and then we'll pick up in just a second.